Welcome to this episode of the HyperFast Mortgage Blitz. If you watched us in episode 1, we discussed big changes to the conforming loan limits for 2021. Today, we're talking about changes for the 2021 FHA loan limits. So stand by. All right, Dustin, episode 2, FHA loan limits. First of all, for those of the people out there listening that may not know what an FHA loan is or how that's different from conforming, why don't you give them a quick overview?
All right. Well, an FHA loan is geared a little more towards somebody who doesn't have perfect credit. So, somebody that's more in the 620, 640 range, that's really going to be where the sweet spot is with an FHA loan.
Or someone that wants a low down payment, right?
True. Yeah, you can go for 3.5%, right? So if you want to increase your buying power, that's another way to do it. Also has a higher debt to income ratio, which in turn increases your buying power. You can go up to 57% for the DTI. So
conforming is
43, 45.
45? Okay.
Yeah, 43, but probably closer to 45 if you want to push it. But.
Okay. So in 2020, the limit was $765,000 for the high-cost counties. Now, I assume high-cost counties would be most of the DMV area?
Absolutely, and DC. In the district.
Where is that going to now?
It's a little over $50,000 increase.
Okay.
So up to $822,000 and some change. So can make a pretty big difference if you were right on the cusp there with what you're looking for.
And 3.5% down. I mean, you're looking at that price point. That's going to be about $30K roughly.
Right.
Yeah. So for $30K, you can buy over $800K of real estate. That's a lot of power, a lot of leverage.
Pretty nice, yeah. Especially if you get a good deal.
So you mentioned you can get lower credit scores will work with FHA. We already talked about lower down payments can work. What are the drawbacks, if any?
Well, there is a mortgage insurance that's tied into it.
You pay your PMI, primary mortgage insurance.
Right, and then there's also a fee of 1.75% that is tacked onto the loan amount. So you do pay for it, call it a thank you very much fee in USA Mortgage. But, if you are getting the right deal and it makes sense to get into the market, to become a homeowner, it's, a lot of times it does make sense, especially with a lower credit score.
Yeah, I think it's a great way for first-time home buyers, people that don't want to put as much money down. I've always subscribed to the philosophy that when you can get a low interest rate on a good asset, like good real estate, that leverage is good. I know some people think differently. That's okay, but I know for me, the more I go in debt for real estate, the bigger my net worth goes. I think this program excites me, and this is a high cost area to live in. So I'm glad that they got this limit up to the 822 level, and hopefully more people will be able to use that to start building wealth through real estate.
Yeah, and 2021 is a great time to take a look back. If you couldn't do it in 2020, with this increase, it might put you back in the game. So,
and what are you doing? What is USA Mortgage doing to help borrowers, to help buyers agents have the confidence to know that they can take your FHA loan approval and put it in front of a seller or put it in front of a listing agent and compete, with other offers that may not be FHA.
Yeah.
For some people that can be a concern. So how do you mitigate that so that buyer's agent can present that offer and know that they can still win?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, of course, the DC market is extremely competitive, right? And working with the buyer agents here, we have a lot of crafty things that we do. Having close relationships with appraisers, having an in-house underwriting team with USA Mortgage, we're a correspondent lender, so that means that all of our processing, all of our underwriting is done in-house in our corporate office. So having control of the entire process is going to give not only the borrower, but, a listing agent or buyer agent confidence that when we say we can do something, we will get it done, right?
So that's good to know that you guys are getting these loans done in a way that can help buyers and their agents write winning offers with confidence, know that they're going to get from contract to closing. If you guys are listening, have more questions, want to learn more, if you're a borrower, a buyer, a buyer's agent, go to HyperFastMortgage.com, connect with Dustin. He will take amazing care of you. We'll see you next time.
Subscribe to us if you want to make sure you get the latest and greatest HyperFast shows. And remember, we love reviews. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you want to see more, click right here. And if you want 100 real estate tips from my best-selling book, click right here to download them instantly. And if you're new to this channel, click below to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out. And leave some comments about what you think on the videos.